Welcome back, Math 8. Mrs. Davidson here. This video today is going to be an extension of what we have already done. We have solved multi-step equations with distribution. Today, we're going to add on to that. So please go ahead and get a piece of paper and a pencil and make yourself mentally ready for another amazing math experience. As a review, go ahead and write down this equation. Negative times the quantity r minus 7 equals 80. And in written words only, no math involved at all, in written words only, describe how you would solve that equation. When you're done describing in words how you would solve that equation, also answer, how could you know that your answer is written absolutely correct? How would you know that it's true? Hopefully you went ahead and took the time to remind yourself how to solve those equations with distribution. Our opportunity to learn today is that we're going to solve those multi-step equations with variables on one side of the equation by distributing, just did that, combining like terms, that's what we're going to learn, and using the 3 commandments. We use those for every equation we solve. Look at this grumpy cat. He is wondering to himself, how are these 2 equations similar and how are they different? So on your paper, go ahead and write down both equations and underneath write a list of things that you notice that are similar, that means the same, and how are these different? What's different about them? Look carefully and make your list long. Hopefully you notice that they both have a negative in front of a term in parentheses, and that one of the differences they have is that second one in purple has that negative 9m in front of it. We're going to come back to that in just a minute. To answer what m's value is in that yellow equation, we need to distribute that negative to both the negative 4m and the negative 5. We write what is left, and that becomes positive 4m plus 5 equals 25. What would you do next? You can do 2 things at once. You can circle that area of no touch. I said R, no touch. Let's put that A in there. There we go. Circle the area no touch. And then we're going to notice that we're not touching that M yet because the 4 is next to it. It's a term, but we can't touch it quite yet. So we're going to subtract 5 from both sides. By subtracting from 5 from both sides, we make this side have a 0. And then we're going to write what's left. Well, 4m is left plus 0, but we don't need to write that anymore, equals, let's do that math. 25 minus 5 is 20. To solve for m, the last thing you'll need to do is the opposite of multiplying the 4 to m, and that would be dividing. So we're going to divide both sides by 4. Notice that I'm writing the mathematical steps as well as doing the math itself. By writing those mathematical steps, I'm justifying why I did the math. Why I did the math. And I'm going to write it short in words, but meaningful, so that I can understand just from what I have in written steps, how I did the math. So now that we have that top equation solved, we need to figure out how to use those same types of steps to solve that second purple equation, but we have that silly negative 9m in front. So take a moment, pause the video, and write down some ideas. How do you think we're going to solve this one? I wrote that first mathematical step down. What I did not show you was how I did that. And I did that by distributing that negative symbol to both the negative 4m and the positive 5. So I would like you to write that step, but then also in words, write the step next to the math that we just did. You're going to see that now we have a negative 9m and we also have a positive 4m. Those are like terms. Those m's are exactly alike. So because those are like terms, we can actually do that math and combine them. What is negative 9m plus 4m? Well, negative 9m plus 4m is that negative 5m. I rewrote what was left, and I also circled the area of no touch. What I would like you to do now is pause the video, finish writing the math steps, as well as the written steps used to solve that equation. I am not going to finish this equation for you, but on your paper, I would love for you to solve for what m is. My next question is, now that we have these answers, how do you check those again? How do you check to know that you got those answers correct? Write those ideas on your paper now. For this next problem, I want us to both try this one out. So pause the video, try and solve for what x can be based on the notes and the reflections you just made in the previous example. Pause the video and do that. When you restart the video, you're going to notice that I'm going to have it written under another way with just the math steps. I want you to write the written steps of the math that I did and compare that to your answer. Now that you've had time to solve on your own, look at the mathematical steps that I wrote. Take a time, don't erase any of yours, write those down as well, and then write the written steps that I used to get from one colored line to the next colored line. When you're done with that, ask yourself, how can I check this? How can I make sure that this answer is correct? If you guess to check it by substituting in the value for x, you're correct. Good job. So I went ahead and did that for you here, but you would have to actually do the math to see if it's true or not. All right, we now have two more to practice. The one in blue, I want you to do just the math steps for, and the one in purple, I want you to do the math and the written steps. You're going to notice that I have the answers there for you. It's not like I don't want you to get to the solution. Our whole point in practicing is to get comfortable using all of those steps, distribution, combining like terms, using those inverse operations to get that solution. So go ahead and take the time you need, pause the video, and complete those two practice problems. Well, we all know that with more practice, we have more confidence. So here's 4 more problems that I would love for you to practice. These only need the math steps written on your paper. Only the math steps written. However, I want you to pick 2 of them and check your work by plugging that back into the original equation so you know if you are correct or not. Pause the video, take as much time as you need, and get those 4 problems done. I wouldn't just leave you hanging. Here's your actual solutions, and then I gave you some helpful hints, maybe. When you're done looking at the solutions and comparing those to what answers you got, go ahead and write the self-reflection answers in words. That means complete sentences. You have 2 questions there. So your video or your paper will have the solutions, how you changed your work to get those solutions, and the answer to the 2 reflection questions at the bottom of this slide. The last thing I would like for you to do in this assignment is to answer the question, if you were to teach a 6-year-old who has no idea about the math vocabulary or even how to multiply, if you were to teach a 6-year-old how to do this, what would the hardest part be? Be specific in that answer. When you're done with that answer, you're done with this lesson. We'll see you next time.